Fairline Targa 36 vs Sealine S37, a battle of British sports cruisers. There's something quintessentially British about the 1990s sports cruiser. Not quite the champagne-fueled glamour of the Côte d'Azur, but neither the fish-stained pragmatism of a Cornish fishing boat either. Instead, boats like the Fairline Targa 36 and the Sealine S37 promised the middle-class family a little slice of Riviera glamour with the practicality to survive a bank holiday weekend in the Solent without divorce proceedings being initiated. Both arrived in the mid-90s, both sit neatly around the 36-37 foot mark, and both represent very different takes on the same idea. The Targa with its rakish lines and whiff of performance first, and the Sealine with its more utilitarian bent, spacious cabins and a whiff of bring the whole family, the dog, and possibly the kitchen sink. Let's see how they stack up. Design and styling. Fairline Targa 36. If the Fairline Targa 36 were a car, it would probably be something like a Jaguar XK8. Elegant, curvaceous, fast enough to raise eyebrows, but still possessing a veneer of refinement. Fairline have always had a knack for design, and the 36 is no exception. With its sweeping profile, recessed side decks, and generous cockpit canopy, it looks every inch the archetypal Mediterranean plaything, only in this case, moored in pool rather than Portofino. The cockpit layout is textbook Fairline, plenty of sociable seating, a central helm that feels more sports car than sports cruiser, and a general air of quality. Sealine S37. By contrast, the Sealine S37 is the Volvo estate of the boating world, in the nicest possible sense. Practical, solid, and family-friendly, with a touch of understated style. Its lines are perhaps less svelte than the Targa, but Sealine always knew its market, people who wanted space, comfort, and versatility, often at a keener price point than a Fairline. The cockpit is vast for the length, and you can immediately tell the emphasis was on livability. The helm position feels more functional than glamorous, and the overall aesthetic is more utilitarian. But don't be fooled, it's still a handsome boat, just more Marks and Spencer than Harrods. Dimensions and space. On paper, the two are incredibly close. Fairline Targa 36, low A around 11.25 m, beam of 3.56 m. Sealine S37, low A around 11.28 m, beam of 3.66 m. The extra 10 centimeters of beam in the Sealine doesn't sound like much, but when translated into cabin volume and cockpit breadth, it's noticeable. It's a bit like the difference between economy and premium economy on a flight. You still get from A to B, but your elbows are less likely to clash with your neighbor's gin and tonic. Inside, the Targa makes superb use of its space with two decent cabins, a forward double and a midships twin, plus a saloon that converts if you're feeling sociable or unlucky enough to host teenagers. The Sealine takes a similar approach but goes a step further with a more spacious saloon and more generous headroom, up to 1.95 m. For the 6-foot-plus fraternity, that's a godsend. On the Fairline you'll duck from time to time. Performance and handling. This is where the two really part ways. Targa 36. Fairline has always taken pride in its hulls, and the Targa 36 is no exception. With a deep V shape and a slightly more aggressive running angle, it's built for seakeeping and agility. Powered typically by twin Volvo Penta KAD42 diesels producing around 230 HP each, the Targa will happily cruise at 24-25 knots and hit 30 knots flat out, which in boating terms is plenty sprightly. At the helm, it feels sharp, responsive, and reassuringly planted. In a chop, the Targa knifes through with that solid Fairline feel, and you get the impression it could handle the Bay of Biscay with less drama than a ferry announcement. Owners often remark on its glitzy but gutsy character, glamorous topsides hiding a very competent hull beneath. Sealine S37. The Sealine S37, with similar power options, also cruises in the mid-20s and will top out around 30 knots. On paper, there's not much between them. But the feel at the wheel is different. The S37 is solid, dependable, and competent, but lacks a little of the Targa's verve. It's a cruiser that can hustle when asked, but it's happier pootling along with the family aboard, rather than indulging in cheeky sprints across the channel. That's not to say it's dull. Many owners describe it as one of Sealine's better hulls, and it's certainly seaworthy. But if you're after driving thrills, the Fairline edges it. Accommodation and comfort. Here's where the Sealine claws back points. Targa 36. Inside the Targa you'll find typical Fairline quality. Joinery is smart, fabrics are plush, and the layout is logical. The forward double cabin is comfortable, the midships twin feels a bit snug but works well for children or guests, and the saloon doubles as an overflow sleeping area. The galley is well equipped but compact, and the heads are adequate. It all feels very Fairline, solid, polished, and just luxurious enough to feel special. The trade-off, of course, is space. You can cruise as a family of 4 quite happily, but invite extended relatives and you'll soon be rationing elbow room. Sealine S37. Step into the Sealine and you're greeted by space, glorious space. The extra beam and clever design means the cabins feel bigger, the saloon more generous, and the headroom a delight. The mid-cabin in particular is larger than the Targas, with more storage and a generally airier feel. The galley is bigger too, making self-catering more feasible. If you plan to live aboard for a week or two, the S37 is the better bet. For a couple with children, it offers more breathing room, which might just prevent family mutiny on day 3 of a soggy trip round the Welsh coast. Build quality and finish. Fairline has always been seen as the more premium brand, and the Targa 36 shows why. The finish is top-notch, the detailing thoughtful, and the hull's consistently good. They command strong money on the second-hand market for these reasons. Sealine, meanwhile, built a reputation for value and practicality. Their finish is not bad by any means, in fact, the S37 is one of their better efforts, but it doesn't quite have the polish of a Fairline. Think John Lewis versus Selfridges, both perfectly respectable, but one has a little more glitz. Running costs and maintenance. Both boats run similar twin diesel setups, meaning running costs are broadly comparable. Expect fuel burn in the region of 60-70 liters per hour at cruise, give or take. Maintenance on KAD-42s is well understood and parts are available, but like any 25-year-old diesel, keeping them in good fettle requires care. Fairlines, being slightly more sought after, may cost more to insure and service, simply because buyers expect perfection. Sealines can be a touch more forgiving in the market, owners often describe them as easier to buy into. Ownership experience and community. Ask around the marinas and you'll hear the same refrain. Targa owners tend to gush about performance and build quality, Sealine owners praise practicality and comfort. Resale values reflect this. Fairlines command a premium, whereas Sealines are more abundant and therefore slightly less dear on the used market. That said, the S37 is one of the most respected Sealines of its era, so demand is healthy. Quirks and foibles. Targa 36. the cockpit canopy can be a faff to erect, a ritual every owner knows too well. Space is fine for a family of 4 but tight beyond that. Sealine S37, the styling can look a touch dated, and some examples suffer from interior wear if not well cared for. That said, they're robust boats overall. Verdict. So, which to choose? If you want a boat that feels glamorous, that rewards you at the helm, and that still turns heads in the marina, the Fairline Targa 36 is the winner. It's the sports cruiser equivalent of a tailored suit, sleek, stylish, and just a little bit indulgent. If, however, your priority is space, comfort, and practicality, the Sealine S37 is hard to beat. It's the family saloon of the water, dependable, roomy, and more affordable both to buy and to own. It may lack the sparkle of the Targa, but it more than makes up for it in usability. Ultimately, the choice comes down to personality. If you secretly fancy yourself as James Bond, sliding into Monte Carlo at sunset, buy the Fairline. If you know deep down that your boating will involve board games with the kids and bacon sandwiches on a drizzly morning in Cowes, the Sealine is your friend. And perhaps that's the joy of comparing these two stalwarts of British boat building. Whichever way you go, you're buying into a golden era of sports cruisers, when practicality met glamour head-on, and we all dared to dream of summer in the Med, even if we ended up in Torquay instead.